Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Raveesh and I'm an assistant professor at NYU. The title of today's talk is Growing Platforms by Adding Complementors Without Consent, Evidence from On-Demand Food Delivery Platforms. This is a joint work with Professor Alan Lee from Wisconsin. Given the reach that platforms have garnered over the past decade, they have come under careful scrutiny of the regulators. Researchers are still trying to figure out whether and when external regulations can create more harm than good. Nonetheless, the count of external regulations are on a rise. This decade, it's mostly the food delivery platforms that are under regulatory scrutiny. Food delivery platforms, for the most part, have played the role of complementing restaurants' own delivery services. But that has changed now. So from over 35 billion worldwide revenue in 2017 to over 100 billion by 2024 and close to 360 billion, that's 1/3 of restaurants' revenue by 2030, they're projected to grow exponentially. And needless to say, that pandemic has also added to this because now over 2/3 of consumers are comfortable and do place orders online using these food delivery platforms. So these platforms understand the value of network effect, hence they've been aggressively trying to partner with the restaurants to increase their supply side. Some of them, as you can see on screen, are high-profile partnerships. Now, a challenge with such a growth strategy is that it can be slow and it puts a lot of burden on the platforms to maintain these relationships. Hence, they've devised some unorthodox seeding strategies starting 2019. This peculiar seeding strategy did not need restaurants to actively participate in the transaction. Now, a lot of restaurants were added to the platform as non-partnered restaurants, and many of these restaurants did not even know that they were on the platform. So how would such a seeding strategy work? Because of the delivery partners. Now, the platform would instruct these delivery partners to place the order on behalf of the consumers, pay using platform's credit card, and deliver the food to the consumers. According to the platforms, this was a win-win strategy because restaurants got additional revenues without any effort and consumers got more option on the platforms. However, some of the restaurants disagreed. Some restaurants claimed that it actually caused more harm to their reputation than benefits, if any. Promptly, some of the regulators jumped in and enacted regulations to restrict such a practice. California became the first state to come up with the regulations that explicitly barred delivery platforms from listing non-partnered restaurants. So for our research, we used these two distinct shocks, one being added to the platform without restaurants' consent, and second being delisted from the platform due to external regulations to study the impact of these seeding strategies and the impact that regulations can have, which restrict such seeding strategies. So to formally state our research question, first, we are interested in understanding the impact of being added to the platform without restaurants' consent. Next, we are interested in understanding what happens when such restaurants are delisted from the platform post a regulation. So we study the impact of listing and delisting on restaurants' dine-in and take-out orders. The information about the restaurant partnerships were obtained from Grubhub. Our main dependent variables, the footfall data, is from a footfall aggregator called SafeGraph, which many of you have already used. So any visit between 0 to 10 minutes was considered a takeout order. Any visit between 11 minutes to 2 hours was dine-in order. And we also collected many other information such as restaurant's location, when the restaurant was added to the platform as a non-partnered restaurant, etc. So our identification strategy is to match restaurants that got added to the platform as non-partnered restaurants with those restaurants which never got added to the platform. And then we use difference and differences. So the results suggest that the takeout order got increased by about 2.6%. However, the dining orders decreased more than the takeout, resulting in an overall loss of footfall by about 1.5%. However, we find that the chain restaurants did not get impacted by this seeding strategy. Sadly, the substitution of dine-in with takeout was seen mainly by the independent restaurants. So to summarize, we find that there was an overall reduction in the footfall. Furthermore, independent restaurants were the one which were affected. Next, we want to understand the impact of retrospective regulation, barring such seeding strategy. And for this question, we compare and contrast the outcomes for restaurants in California with those of restaurants in neighboring and similar states, Washington and Oregon. Here we find that the regulations that reduces takeout orders, but it does not correspondingly increase the dine-in order, resulting in an irreversible loss of orders. And in unreported tables, we find that this effect is mainly for independent restaurants. So to summarize, we find that untested seeding strategies can negatively impact these restaurants. Hence, for a restaurant, it may be better if they devise strategies to counter order substitutions instead of putting efforts to get out of the platform once they're already on the platform. We also show that retrospective regulations can be ineffective in doing what they're supposed to do. In fact, such regulations may reduce the choice that restaurants may have. Hence, it's important to proactively come up with regulations that can throttle such untested strategies rather than retrospectively barring them. Thank you for being a part of this talk.